Hey guys, Johnny Old School here, and yeah, it's the middle of the night. Lighting in my apartment really sucks, but that doesn't really matter. I got something that I'm going to do today that I've been wanting to do for a while. Me and this person have been working on a way to actually make it happen. As you guys probably have seen on my wrist, I got this little tattoo here. I don't know how well you can see it on camera. I don't know. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of meaning that is in this tattoo. I got it about a year ago and whatnot. And I won't go into all the whole meaning it has for me. Maybe I'll do that in a later installment, later video or something like that. But I will say this: the leaf and flower there, that maple leaf represents me. And that purple flower represents somebody who is very near and dear to my heart. Somebody who I really enjoy talking with, somebody who's wise and intelligent and a lot of fun. And for reasons that I cannot get into, I'm unable to talk to this person voice to voice right now through the internet. I'm unable to, get them on webcam. If you're wondering who this person is, you'll never know. If you're wondering what they do, what sort of life they lead, you're just really gonna never know. So I guess you could say I'm very good friends with somebody who a lot of people might consider a little bit mysterious in that respect. But they're a fantastic individual who I love very deeply, and I wanted to find some way to get some kind of interview or discussion or conversation on film that I can share with people, so I could kind of give people a little bit of an insight into, who this person is to me, and maybe even get some sort of wisdom or insight out of them in the process, because I really like talking to them. They've had a huge impact on my life, and I would like to be able to take the good things that they have to share with me and be able to share them with other people as well. So without further ado, I guess welcome to episode 1 of Leaf and Flower.
ただ一人迷い込む旅の中で心だけさまよって立ち尽くした
Now to make this work, and it's been kind of an odd process getting up to this point, and it won't make any sense to you guys watching, but to make this work, we've pioneered some software together. And by pioneered some software together, I mean she has done all the work herself, and I've maybe offered a 10% feedback. But without further ado, coming to you all live through the magic of the internet and an electronic voice and a lot of editing, I present to you me talking with Purple Flower. So to start things off, okay, this was a question that I saw floating around the old internets recently. It was like trending on Twitter or whatever the fucking kids say. But the question is, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be? If you could travel back maybe like 10 years, 20 years, and just speak, I don't know, a line of dialogue or give your younger self some piece of information, what would it be? And don't say nothing. You got to think of something. Because I know you're the sort who's probably like, I wouldn't change anything. Yes, I understand. I get it, all right?
I would probably say, don't worry about where you are going. Just go.
That's not bad. That's probably something similar to what I would say to myself. See, now I'm just getting lost in thought. A lot of what you say has a tendency to do that.
You could have asked about it.
Yeah, see, now I'm thinking of what to ask about it.
Whatever you were thinking about it.
Well, I was kind of thinking back to myself and like what I would say to myself. And aside from, I guess, sort of very personal things that I wouldn't maybe want to expose on the internet, I guess I would probably tell myself something like, you have things waiting for you in life that you can't even fathom. Like if you think your life is shitty or you think nothing's going to become of it, you have absolutely no idea how many different things are out there waiting for you that you're going to get to experience. Because I can think of plenty of times when I was just like, wow, I suck, my life sucks, I'm going nowhere, nothing's going to happen, I'm completely futile and useless, this is the best I can hope for. And none of it was true.
Why wasn't it true?
Because it turns out that all sorts of different things ended up happening to me that I never would have expected. I mean, something as simple as like moving out to Calgary, living in the heart of like a major city. I didn't see that in the cards for myself. I've had so many experiences out here too that I never thought I'd get to experience.
Is that why you are more content with who you are now?
Yeah, I'd say that's part of the reason. I mean, I've grown a lot as a person. I think that I'm more effective and productive in my life. I do things that I feel are good to do, so I'm more proud of myself just in my lifestyle in general. I feel that I'm living in a way that's beneficial to others and beneficial to myself. Um, so I'm content in that aspect of it. But I mean, getting out of the city was a big thing for me, or getting out of my hometown rather, and into a city was a big thing for me because there's nothing going on in my hometown. There's nothing going on, and suddenly I'm in this world of opportunity. So it's just kind of, looking back on those days, I just kind of felt like stuck in this shitty black hole of nothingness. And here I am in downtown Calgary, living the good life as I sit in my fucking apartment, stealing electricity.
I think I know the feeling.
Stealing electricity from the fucking hallway because my life is shit. Oh, mercy. Well, you know what? At least I'm having more fun. It's more exciting doing this.
Do what you want to do. Not so much what you have to do. Just what you want to do.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. It's tricky at times. I have lofty goals and plans for my life. I'll see how many of them I achieve, but it's always comforting when I think to myself, I'm like, well, everything kind of like sucks a little bit. I'm like, wait, remember back when everything kind of sucked and then it turned awesome? What if it turns awesome again? What if it turns even more awesome? So it's kind of exciting when I sit and I allow myself to kind of daydream about what might be in store for me in the years to come, because I'm sure it'll be a whole another fucking shitload of crazy crap that I never imagined. It's gonna be all sorts of awesome stuff.
I like not knowing.
I kind of hate not knowing. It sucks. It's easier knowing, because it's like, I'm having a really rough week at work, but on the weekend I'm gonna go camping and get drunk with a bunch of friends, because then it kind of like helps you get through those hard parts, right? Where it's like, if you don't know at all, you're just like, oh, this week sucks, and I got nothing going on the weekend, and you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Okay, so, let me ask you something. If you could know what you were going to do tomorrow, and so on, would you really want to know?
I was sitting here thinking about that as you were typing that out, and I think I kind of agree with you, because like, it kind of takes the excitement away. Like, what's a good way of putting it?
Yes, where is the life in that? Is it really your life anymore?
Well, yeah. Then it wouldn't so much feel like I'm living. It would just kind of feel like I'm kind of like reading a script and acting out a role. It's like, yeah, I know that's gonna happen. It would be, let me say this though, it would be pretty interesting to like, let's say something crazy is going to happen to me in like 7 years. I'll win like $100 million in the lottery, or I'll invent some new source of energy that'll revolutionize the planet. Like, let's say I was given like a piece of information like from the future that I would have absolutely no fucking clue of how I was going to achieve or get there, like something that seemed completely impossible. Like, what? I'm not going to fucking do that. Are you fucking kidding me? But let's say whatever came back in time and brought me that piece of information was like, yeah, no, it's going to happen regardless. Like, it's set in stone. That's your fucking destiny. It will happen. That would be interesting to me, because then I'd be like, how the fuck is this going to play out? It would almost be like if you maybe like watched like the ending to a movie, and you saw like the first like 5 minutes of it, and then you saw like a little bit of the ending, and you'd be like, how the fuck did they get from point A to point B? That's gonna be fucking crazy. That could be maybe kind of fun.
Who is to say that hasn't happened already? Perhaps you have that piece of information already.
That's a terrifying thought. Huh. That's an interesting thought right there. Perhaps I do. Perhaps written in one of my journals, I have the secret to immortality. Probably not.
The secret is death.
The secret to immortality is death. You know, I don't want to poke a lot of holes in your logic here, my dear, but I already get what you mean. I'm just fucking bugging you, so.
You think you are alive.
I think that I'm conscious. I perceive things. I have a sense of self-awareness. I don't necessarily think that changes after I die. The way I perceive my body and the conscious process is, I like to use the car analogy. If somebody's driving a car and the car breaks down, the person inside it doesn't cease to exist. They get out of the car, they go wandering around, and maybe they'll find a new car. Maybe they'll decide to walk around for a while. Maybe they'll find a bicycle or an airplane. That's my understanding of consciousness. Is that the body is the host. When my body breaks down, my consciousness can be like, well, that was a fun ride.
You are alive inside your body. The body is living because you, the thing inside, is immortal.
Yeah, that's my understanding of things. Like one of my beloved Tool songs with the lyric, "I am eternal, all this pain is an illusion."
Yes. This is what I mean by death. Exactly.
It's interesting if you, like, I've never seen a dead body in person, but I've seen autopsy videos and whatnot. And it's a strange thing to look at a human body without a consciousness inside it, because it looks like a shell. Like it just looks like a kind of piece of like meat or nothing. Like just it's almost like not human anymore. It's very difficult to describe, but it's kind of it loses what makes it what it is. It just doesn't. It doesn't seem like it's a person anymore. Like I said, it's difficult for me to describe, but any of you out there watching or listening, if you're brave enough to watch an autopsy video, check it out sometime. It's rather eye-opening and kind of enlightening, actually.
What is the difference from human or any other living thing? Only that you can relate to the experience that humans have, no?
Yeah, no, it's definitely easier to relate to a human experience. But I can think of, like when pets have died as well, you get the same sort of sense of it, but it's a little bit different when you're looking at, like a shell that you're accustomed to using every day.
Is it? Is it different than, say, an ant?
I think it is different from an ant because an ant's body is so vastly different from my own. It's got multiple legs, it's got eyes that work in completely different ways, its whole digestive tract is different, it lives in a very different way. It's easier to connect with something like the body of like a cat or a dog, which for one thing they're domesticated, they live in the same environment, they can kind of live kind of a similar lifestyle that I live. Maybe even other animals, but like when you get down to like insect level, it's very difficult to kind of connect with that sort of body just because it's so completely different from my own.
Does it have a consciousness?
I would assume so. I'm not really sure where the line of consciousness begins or ends, because you could take it down to like a dog has consciousness, then a cat, then a bird, then a mouse, and like maybe like a tinier mouse, and then like a little lizard, and then a grasshopper, then an ant, and then like a flea, and then like a mite, and then like down to like bacteria, and then down to like plankton. Like, would there be a line? Is there some line? Would like something tiny like a single-celled organism, would that have consciousness? And if it did, would that just be basically the most primitive form of consciousness that you can have? Then you'd have to kind of get into the topic of discussion, like where does consciousness begin? Does it start out as like...
Maybe everything has a consciousness. Grains of sand and lower.
Now, I like this line of reasoning. Yes, maybe it does. Maybe every particle of matter has some sort of guided force behind it. And that's an interesting one. Because I suppose just as we see forms of life organizing themselves in more and more complex patterns, there may be this whole kind of separate dimension that we can't really perceive in our physical realm, where consciousness does the exact same thing and grows and develops and expands. There's theories that say that maybe life isn't what creates consciousness. Maybe bodies and physical evolution isn't what creates consciousness. Maybe consciousness is what allows those things to exist in the first place. Maybe the world outside this one is actually the real world, and this is a sort of hologram of material matter created from this dimension of pure consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah. I tend to subscribe to that theory, and it's a lot of fun to think about. You know, when you hear about people who have near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, and I've read a couple recently from like neurosurgeons and whatnot. I wish I could remember the one I'm thinking of right now, but this guy was some sort of like neurosurgeon or something like that, and he was basically brain dead for like, I don't know, a couple days or a couple hours. And what he described was astounding. And it's interesting because a lot of these people report that what they see during these events seemed more real. Like colors were more vibrant, their sensations were bigger. They always seem to, well, not always, but oftentimes they just seem to describe that what they're experiencing seemed more real than the life they were used to. I've always found that very interesting.
I don't see a difference between out of body and dreaming.
I don't suppose there really would be. I could probably get into the different sorts and types of dreams I've had, because I've certainly had dreams where they didn't really seem as real as my waking life, but I've had plenty that seem every bit as real.
Because you were only thinking and not dreaming.
Interesting. And what exactly do you mean by that? Because you're drawing a pretty stark contrast between thinking and dreaming. I think I already get what you mean, but I'll let you explain it.
Well, think about when you are having a dream, or so you think. You wake up and go back. That is the place I'm talking about.
Well, when I'm having a dream, it feels like I'm somewhere different that I'm not necessarily in 100% control of.
Well, I'm saying, 1, your consciousness leaves your physical body, while the other, you are simply thinking.
So what you'd be saying is that there's almost like two types of dreaming, where like you're asleep and your imagination is active and you're thinking of things, and you're kind of, since all your senses to the outside world are turned off and they're turned inwards, all the things you're imagining become bright and lively and vivid, seem more real. Or there's the times when you're dreaming and your consciousness is somewhere else, where you're not imagining all the things happening to you, you're somewhere else experiencing things happening to you.
Exactly. If you feel as if it is impossible and cannot exist, then you can assume it is outside of the human mind. If the human mind has a limit of thinking
That's
and...
what I was kind of trying to get at with my my ramblings. I can think of some pretty bizarre dreams I've had where I just kind of find myself in a strange place, surrounded by strange sights and whatnot. And some people might make the argument, well, there's no way a place like that would exist. That doesn't make any sense. But if you consider like how many different parallel dimensions may exist, how many different forms of reality may exist, what sort of physical laws might be in place in these different forms of reality, something that in my current reality would make no sense at all could potentially be 100% sensical in another reality. You could have I could wake up during my sleep and find myself in a factory with a big fat guy in a yellow hat churning out TVs that only played one shitty channel. I'm not saying that's a dream I've actually had, but I've used that analogy a couple times for whatever strange reason. But that I could actually be dreaming about a real play. I could be experiencing and seeing something real, where in that reality, that simply makes sense. Of course TVs would only play one channel. Of course a fat guy with a yellow hat would be the one in charge of this factory. Of course he'd be able to run it all by himself. When you start getting into the different dimensions where different laws could be in place, really the sky is kind of the limit. I read something really interesting recently about experiments they conducted regarding dream telepathy. And I should have the article pulled up right now to talk about it. But if you can find that, that was fucking fascinating. Because here's kind of like, laboratory results of like, it turns out that unconscious people can actually influence each other's dreams. And that's fucking spooky. Like that's the kind of thing that's been left to the realms of science fiction for a very long time, but something which I've always suspected to be possible. it probably goes a lot far beyond that. I mean, there's probably functions of that really can't be measured in a laboratory setting all that well, at least not with our current technology or methods of observation. But I wouldn't be surprised if you can completely join somebody's dream and exchange like 100% information, like have conversations with people.
Now ask yourself where they really are.
That's a strange one to try to answer. Somewhere else. Maybe they are where they actually are. Maybe us being here isn't where we actually are. This is kind of like maybe like a place where our perceptions are tethered to, and when we kind of shed the things, when we shed our tether, we go back to that place that we're currently existing in.
Unless your consciousness is split in many places.
Ah. Now that's getting into some crazy shit. That we might be living in multiple places, on multiple worlds, across multiple dimensions, that our true self is actually split and fragmented across all these different experiences.
Unconsciously, if time doesn't exist, as it doesn't, then how is it not true?
Technically, it would be true. I remember a while ago you kind of submitting an interesting thought experiment to me, something along the lines of, if time doesn't technically exist, if it's not linear, if it's only linear because we perceive to be linear because we're in this kind of human body that measures movement of matter through space and records it as memory, but if time isn't this linear path, then that means that right now, at some point along that time, this body is no longer alive, and yet my consciousness is still interacting with it. So I forget kind of how we ended that conversation. I'm trying to figure out how it made sense to me.
You were the dust on your feet.
And the goo on my sock? This sock is pretty fucking dirty, let me tell you. It is black on the bottom. Oh, no, man, it's more like a shade of gray. It's certainly not a clean sock, though.
You don't understand what I'm saying.
So essentially what you're saying is that my body is going to cease to exist and then rot in the ground, or a dumpster, as it may be, and that all those particles basically kind of go back into the cycle of the earth and will eventually be on somebody else's sock.
Not only someone else's, but your sock.
How do you figure that? I guess completely out. Wait, well, how do you figure that? Because it seemed to me that would mean like the particles from my decomposing body would have to travel back in time and get on my current sock.
What time?
This linear time that I currently am experiencing. In which the particles on my sock would also need to be experiencing for me to experience them?
I'm trying to say that you have long died many times, and you are stepping on the dirt and pieces of yourself within your current self, your current life you live.
Oh shit. Okay, I get what you're saying now. So you're essentially saying, my consciousness has incarnated and manifested in many different forms, probably many different forms on this planet, probably in many different forms elsewhere. All those pieces of matter that made up all those various bodies, those have all been recycled back into the various cosmoses and ecosystems of the different places that I've incarnated in. So, I guess technically some of this crap on my sock could be me, or I guess it is part of me. That's weird to think about. Jesus Christ.
Of course, this is my truth. You have to remember as well that you are also pieces of each other.
We're all kind of pieces of each other and pieces of everything else. I think it was a popular scientist these days, the astronomer Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was asked in an interview what the most interesting fact about space he could give was, and he said the fact that we're all made of stardust, that all these giant cosmic entities that we see out in space, that's all responsible for the matter and particles that make up us. We're all made up of all that stuff that's existed for billions of years in all these different forms.
I feel that.
One of the things I enjoy about having a psychedelic experience is that some of the walls in place that allow us to have the illusion of this separation, they oftentimes tend to fall away to one degree or another, and you feel an interconnectivity between your surroundings, your environment, even the people in your life. I can think of friends, and I can imagine a conversation in my head, or I can just imagine and think about the person they are, and almost feel as if I'm having a conversation with them in real time, or despite the fact that they might be off somewhere doing something else, working or something like that. It feels as if they aren't far away from me. Sorry, my cat's kind of bugging me here. It feels as if they aren't far away from me, as if I could almost reach out and almost physically touch them inside my mind. It's an interesting experience. I've had a few times where the walls have come down so much that I can look at a single object, and I can essentially see inside my brain like every hand that's touched that object, every piece of effort that went into creating that. Like, look at something like a piece of crown molding around the bottom of your apartment, and you see like machines that were used to create that. You see the minds of people who designed those machines, who came up with those designs. You see the people in the factories and warehouses and whatnot shipping these things, creating them. You see the people who install them. There's this entire network of like thousands and thousands of people behind the most simplest of objects. And I suppose it would be very overwhelming if your brain were made to work that way all the time, because I wouldn't be able to look at a coffee cup without being overloaded with information. But it's a very interesting experience to have those walls torn down with a psychedelic, where I can look at a coffee cup and all of a sudden realize that like holy shit, like thousands of people are responsible for me having this coffee cup. Like, we're so utterly interwoven together. And I guess part of the reason, like I said, why we're not always consciously aware of that is because it'd be a little bit overwhelming to always consciously be aware of that. But that's the thing, is it's still there. It's still always there. There's a lot of different reasons why I feel psychedelics are very valuable too, because they allow you to see things like that. And when you come back from the trip and you kind of melt back into this reality, so to speak, part of you still knows that, even though you're not consciously aware of it all times. Part of you still takes that with you. It's you've had that experience. It's kind of like if you get like a really nice massage. Like a few days later, your muscles aren't going to feel all relaxed, and you're not super all like, oh yeah, I just had the greatest massage. But you're like, massages are a thing. You know that feeling. You know what it felt like to have that. You understand the value behind having your muscles massaged. Maybe not my best analogy, but it kind of works.
It becomes a memory.
Yeah, exactly. One of those magical little treasures that nobody can take away from you. Oh, my cat is shedding and he wants me to scratch his back right now. It's really annoying. God damn it, cat.